What's up, everybody? On today's video, I'm going to tell you about my day Uber driving in Bradenton, Florida. My first ride was somebody in this gated community called Lakewood Ranch National. This is a golf course community that just happened to be having a golfing event. But when I drove out to this community, the person canceled the ride because they changed their mind about their plans. But I still got paid $6 for driving to the location. On top of that, the person decided to give me a $10 tip, which I used for my lunch later on in today's video. So despite the fact that this person canceled the ride, they still considered me driving out there for them and give me a $10 tip just for showing up. That was really cool. And it was only the start of people's generosity, as later on in the day, somebody gave me a $20 tip as well, bringing the total cash tips for the day up to $30. This is a soft shell turtle. If you're ever in Florida, you have to be very careful driving around gated golf course communities that have a lot of lakes, because you're going to run into these turtles. These soft shell turtles like to venture from lake to lake. Of course, most of these communities in Florida that are golf are going to be gated communities. That means that the people that live here have to pay an HOA to keep up the grounds, the golf courses, property maintenance, which means that even though if you buy a house in this community, you always have an obligation to maintain the property for everybody, the golf courses and landscaping. And if the community is fancy enough, a lot of times they're going to do charity runs, and if you're not a generous giver, then you're going to be frowned upon by your neighbors because you're not giving this charity or supporting the many events that they hold through the year, events that mostly are going to have expenses related to them, and you're expected to spend money supporting the community events. And if you don't, you'll get some bad looks around the community. Did you hear that Mr. Johnson didn't support the charity? What a scumbag. And he's just bought a new Corvette. Well, that's what you get in these gated communities in Florida. But you can see it's beautifully landscaped, and of course, with the amount of money that people pay to live in these gated communities, that's absolutely expected. Now, this one's kind of far out, but I did get my next Uber pickup, which was just a young person going across town that drove me right into Bradenton, Florida, which, if you guys remember, I had said I wasn't going to do Bradenton, Florida anymore because I did a night run and it was horrible. And I've done a few days Ubering in Bradenton, and it really hasn't been all that great. So I've been kind of hesitant of going into Bradenton. But on this day, the rides worked out where I ended up in Bradenton, and well, that's what today's video is about. And surprisingly, I received a lot of tips on this day, which is interesting because if you guys remember, my first experiences Uber driving in Bradenton were horrible. But on this particular day, things were different. People were generous. They were tipping, and I actually had a great time with the people I met, which goes to show that when it comes to Uber driving, there are good days and there are bad days. I recently had a bad day in Sarasota Friday night, which last week was incredible. I went back Friday night and it sucked, but then I went back Saturday and it was great. So this Uber driving experience, you have good days and you have bad days, and really you can't really judge a place because you went there one time and it wasn't good, or you went there once and it was great. You could go back and it could suck. So it is very unpredictable. But overall, I do think Sarasota is considerably better to Uber. Now, this is Highway 70. You'll notice that they're building from about Lakewood Ranch a little bit further to the east all the way to the county line of DeSoto, I believe. It's a huge stretch of Highway 70 that is going to be widened because, of course, this area is growing like crazy. But what I find interesting is how fast this project is going. I was here about a month ago and nothing was done. They've already cleared the trees. They've already started bringing in dirt, and they're already putting in pilings for a bridge, which is incredible because these construction projects sometimes take years to happen. And that's usually because the people that are doing the projects are somewhat stealing or scheming, it's some type of kickback scheme where they take forever to make more money. But this project is going at just a fast rate in Lakewood Ranch. I mean, when they build out here, they build quickly, incredibly quickly. I can't believe how fast this construction project is on its way because they want to do it. So if you've ever been a place where it's been under construction for years, it's not because it has to take that long. It's because they purposely take too long because they're milking somebody for money, usually you, the taxpayer. So when you see projects like this that take off incredibly fast and get finished incredibly fast, it just goes to show that when they want to make something happen quickly, they can, but they usually don't. Now, what I'm concerned about is that here in Manatee County, we're adjacent to Polk County. And as you guys know, in Polk County, they have that whole mining operation. And Florida's governor just signed that new law where they're allowed to dump toxic waste on Florida roadways. And I really hope that that's not what's going on here. I couldn't tell you for certain that's the thing that's going on here, but I really hope it isn't the case, because it seems that in the state of Florida, some of these projects take forever, and this project is going off at an alarmingly fast rate, which is good for the community, except are they going to use that new law to bring toxic waste type stuff to our roadways, which will leach into the ground and could cause all types of ecological disasters for our community, where like our beaches have crystal clear, beautiful waters here in this part of Florida. Used to be like that in Southwest Florida, not the case anymore. After hurricanes and contamination, that is gone. Notice there's a police officer living in this community. We're going to pick somebody up somewhere in this area and take them further into town. Now, as you guys know, most of Florida is fairly flat, but Lakewood Ranch actually has a lot of elevation. Lakewood Ranch is an unincorporated area outside of Sarasota and Bradenton, which means in Lakewood Ranch, you could have a Bradenton address or a Sarasota address, depending on where you are, since Lakewood Ranch spans two counties, Manatee for Bradenton and Sarasota County for the city of Sarasota, which means that it's one place, but it's divided by two counties, with about University Road being the breakoff line between Manatee County and Sarasota County. Right now, we are on the Bradenton side. This is a fast-growing area. Traffic congestion going in through here is kind of almost demanding. I mean, it's Highway 70. It's a major highway. It goes right across the state. A lot of people from Arcadia and Mayaca City commute into town. So it would make sense for this area to eventually get this upgrade that they're doing. And it's great that it's happening fast. But I am reasonable to speculate that hopefully we don't get that toxic road crap they're doing, because we're not too far from, Polk County, which is where all that garbage is coming from. So out here in Lakewood Ranch, it's Suburban. It's growing fast. You can see they're building new restaurants, new Publixes, McDonald's. All of this is recently going in. In fact, that McDonald's right there, they just recently opened it. So it's a very fast-growing area. So this is the Lakewood Ranch Walmart that's on Highway 70. It's the same highway, but it's 3 lanes as you get into town. Right here on this intersection, I dropped somebody off. I picked them up in a gated community, and I dropped them off at the Walmart like a few days ago or something like that, right? And the person stood right here underneath this sign, and they were panhandling. Now, I picked this person up, dropped them off at the Walmart. They walked over here to this intersection. I picked up somebody else in the apartments that are behind the Walmart. So like 5 minutes later, I'm driving back through here, and I see the same person that I dropped off. They had a book bag. They had changed their clothes, and they were now standing here panhandling with a sign, looking like they're homeless, but in fact, they actually were picked up at a gated community, a nice gated community at that. Now, there are actually homeless people living here in Lakewood Ranch right now at this intersection, and it's crazy to think that this suburban area has homeless people. And in fact, even the Walmart parking lot now has one of these security things that the police puts up. It's like a trailer with lights and cameras, because they've had so many vehicle break-ins here. Probably the reason they've had so many vehicle break-ins at this little area is because you have now homeless people that used to live in Bradenton city limits, that they got forced out of the city limits by the police department, and now all the homeless people that were far into the city are pushing into the suburbs. So there's actually homeless people living here in this part of Lakewood Ranch. And this Walmart in this little area here is actually getting somewhat trashy. In fact, I live somewhere in this area of Lakewood Ranch on the Bradenton side, and I recently get notifications from my apartment complex letting me know that there's been vehicle break-ins to make sure you don't leave anything in your car. So this little area has got pretty trashy, to the point where sometimes you'll see people here on the left of this off-ramp, and they'll panhandle right there on the left as people are getting off the exit. It's almost normal. A few weeks ago, I saw a girl that was panhandling there, and she's had a sign that said, "I'm hungry." And I had half a sandwich that was actually for my wife. She's still mad about this situation because it was supposed to be her roast beef sandwich. She's still mad at me. But anyways, I gave this girl this roast beef sandwich. She opened it up and swallowed this thing in like seconds. So she actually really was hungry. She wasn't faking it. She really was hungry. So if you ever find yourself in this area, there really are homeless people, but you have to be very careful if you're going to help them and just give them food, or actually make sure that they're actually homeless, because there are people that come here to pretend like they're homeless, but they're getting rides out of gated communities. So they're definitely not homeless, and they're out there panhandling, pretending like they have a necessity when perhaps they're fit enough to go work. But here, in this intersection, there are actually homeless camps. Now, if you're driving through here, you may not see it, but in the outskirts of this intersection, there's wooded areas, and there's homeless camps scattered all through here. Now, right now, traffic is moving fluently through 75, but if you come through here at peak hours, that northbound traffic in the afternoon literally comes to a standstill heading into Tampa. There's a lot of traffic congestion here. Now, this wooded area on the right, which belongs to the Florida Department of Highways, had homeless camps. They went in there and cleared them out, but already they've moved back in there. And then you can see there's wooded areas all surrounding this intersection, and all through here there's a lot of homeless camps. I was dropping somebody off back in here on the left, and I looked through the woods, and there were just like dozens of camps, and it's like, wow, there are really that many homeless people living in this area. So once you enter this side of the interstate, you're now more in Bradenton than you are in Lakewood Ranch. Basically, anything east of 75 is Lakewood Ranch. Anything on this side is really Bradenton. But I'm always picking people up in this area. And back in the woods and stuff, there's a lot of homeless people back here. It's kind of crazy. And again, it's so far out into the outskirts, you really wouldn't expect it. But that's the situation with urban cores pushing homeless people out. The homeless people have to go somewhere, and they're venturing further into the suburbs. Luckily, they're not coming east of 75, because I can't have this in the community where I live. All right, so I picked up a person that was getting off of work, and they were going to a neighborhood. They had a stop at this grocery store right here, and I couldn't help noticing the smell from this taco truck. So I actually dropped this person off, and I came back because the smell of this food truck was just incredible. So dropping this person off here in a Bradenton neighborhood, and then I'm gonna come back for some good, and I mean good, food truck food. Now, they were mostly having like Mexican and Salvadorian type food, but I actually just went with a hamburger. It was actually pretty good. The fries weren't the best, but I didn't even think I was gonna get fries. I thought I was just getting a hamburger. All right, so I dropped off the person and came right back to this grocery store so I could get me some good tacos. Now, they're grilling Friday, Saturday, Sunday till 10 p.m. at this little spot right here. All right, so I ate my burger, nice little lunch break here in this parking lot, and I'm ready to go again. We are going to go Ubering through Bradenton now. Of course, keep in mind that in my past experiences, Ubering in Bradenton hasn't been all that great for me. Bad tips, bad experiences. So I wasn't really feeling Bradenton all that much, but today was different. Now, I saw this guy right here, and I asked him if he wanted some fries, and he did want them. So he's got his little bicycle trailer, and I'm like, dude, you want some fries? I mean, there's a lot of homelessness in this area, so anytime, I have some food, or if I eat half a sandwich and the other half is still good, I always give it to somebody, because there really are people who haven't eaten on the streets. You don't really think about that too much, but it's true. I mean, I was in downtown Sarasota last night, and there's somebody digging through the garbage in downtown Sarasota looking for a meal. So it's sad that it's like that, but it's true. Hey, look, un paletero. This guy sells paletas. I haven't seen these types of guys in years doing this. Right there he goes. But I didn't have any cash money, because the $10 that I got from the earlier tip, I used it to buy my burger, so I didn't have any cash money. If I did, I would have definitely got a paleta from the paletero. All right, so my next pickup was at this campus right here. You've seen this in Bradenton, Florida. And, well, I'm going to say I was a little disappointed that these people did not want to talk very much. They were young kids, and they don't talk. And I made myself utterly uncomfortable to them, because I forced them to have a conversation even though they didn't want to. You do have to check into this campus. I'm not sure why, but you do. And when you leave the campus, they have to show their card that they're leaving. So I don't know what the deal is up in here. I don't know if these are foreign exchange students. I really don't know what the deal is. But at the end of the day, they didn't want to talk very much. And, a lot of the young people today are like that. They just don't like talking, period. It's like they're all completely antisocial. And then the crazy part is that they act like you're the one that's got something wrong because you want to talk to them. I'm like, no, buddy, you're the one that's got a problem. Now, this is usually like the young kids today. They just want to sit there on their phone. They don't want to talk. Now, there was two of them, so it was less intimidating for me to try to talk to them. But they act like you're the creepy one for trying to talk, or they just give you like, they roll their eyes, or they're just not really into. They don't have any social skills. None of these young people have any social skills, and it's crazy. So since there were two of them, I figured I'm going to ask them questions that just to get them to talk, or since they didn't want to talk about them, then I talked about me. But they're stuck in a car with me and we're talking. And whether you like it or not, I think today young people really lack social skills. And how are these people going to run a company? How are these people going to do anything if they're all just zombied out looking at their phones? And they have the right to be however the crap they want to be, but it's a very whoa, buddy. Now this guy actually almost pulled out in front of me. Now all these cars that are heading that way, now they're all going to have an argument with him because he literally was going to pull a U-turn even though there was cars coming. So he had to back up into this lane again. He was literally going to pull like a 3-point turn in the middle of the road. So I don't know what that was about. Scared the crap out of the people in the back seat. And but the point is, like, I run into so many people that just don't have any social skills whatsoever. The youth today is absolutely, and it's not all of them. Some of them are still, normal people. But what is the world going to be when these people have to hire people, when they have to do something, like they have no social skills at all. And you can't blame them because we're the generation that raised them. The parents of these people raised them to be like this. You can't really be mad at them because that's the way they were brought up. It's something that the parents did by giving these kids devices at a young age, or by not letting them go outside to play like they're supposed to as kids. I mean, I understand the world today is more dangerous and there's more things out there that are scary for parents, but if you just harbor your kids and lock them up in a room with a computer, eventually they still have to go out there and see the world. Eventually they still have to be exposed to what's out there, and whether they do things that are bad or good, the choice is going to be up to them. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the influences that they're finding in front of their devices are actually even worse than the influences that they're finding in real life on the streets. Because, if you turn on your phone right now, let me just give you let me just go on YouTube and see what YouTube recommends for me today. Instantly, the first thing that I got is a music video called Target Practice. It looks like a local artist. It looks like it's right here in Bradenton or Sarasota by the background. And images of herbs immediately is the first thing to hit. Politics, the next thing is boxing. Interview, people doing donuts in the middle of the road, people burning a car. Let's see here, drones, rich people in their cars, war again, jail, people uploading videos directly from jail, people, vivencias de la calle, or things that we do in the streets. Then there's Kurt Katz. This is a German guy that goes around the world sleeping with women. Kind of what we call tourism, which is possibly one of the worst things you could ever do as a tourist. Then there's an interesting news article, cartels, again, cops, people fighting with cops. So you get the idea. Here's a music video called Fade Gang, the one. Let's click on it real quick and see what it looks like. Basically, when you get on your phone, violence, drugs, that's what comes up when you touch your phone. As soon as you open your phone, it's nothing but all these bad things. So sometimes parents think that they're sheltering their kids by putting them with a device, but these devices are actually an even worse influence on your kids than actually being out on the streets. So somebody, like a rap music video, somebody going into a gas station. So I guess because I spent some time in Bradenton yesterday, today my phone thinks I live in Bradenton and I want to watch some local Bradenton rappers go into a gas station. So probably not, but because I was geographically in Bradenton yesterday, now today my phone thinks I want to watch, upcoming artists from Bradenton, which I honestly don't. So there you go. I was in Bradenton, so my phone thinks that I want to look for upcoming artists in Bradenton. Let me tell you, there's not a lot of talent here. I hate to break it to you, man, but you're going to have to find another gig because this whole thing ain't working for you. All right, so I stopped on 301 to take a break. Now, on 301 in Bradenton, right across from the Arby's, Manatee County needs to build a crosswalk. There are people jaywalking here day in, day out, nonstop. There's always somebody jaywalking through here. And eventually, it's going to lead to what we know, pedestrians being hurt. It's a non-stop problem on 301 because there's businesses on both sides and it's surrounded by poor neighborhoods. So the poor people that live in this area don't have vehicles. They have to jaywalk because there's nowhere to cross. And I feel like it's a really poor area with a lot of businesses. So logically, people are going to come in here and need to jaywalk. And let me tell you, Manatee County really needs to address this problem. I'm sure there's been people killed here. All right, guys, so here's the famous Booty Patrol truck of Bradenton. It's a guy that has a truck that looks like Border Patrol, but it says Booty Patrol. You guys remember the state of Florida, I think it was Polk County or DeSoto County, was trying to get him arrested for his truck, but they weren't able to. You know, the truck looks like Border Patrol, but it says Booty Patrol. They've been trying to arrest him, and they've been trying to give him all types of trouble. He was even on national news a while back, and, well, they can't. He's still driving it around, so they weren't successful, basically. Now, I've been trying to find this guy to interview him. I follow him on social media, but he's got this thing where you can't message him. If anybody has his contact, he's been on my videos before. He commented on my videos. Again, I want to interview this guy. If anybody in Bradenton has his contact information, let me reach out to him, because I got him on social media, but it hasn't really gone through. I really want to interview this guy. I want to talk about his story, about how, you know, they came after him, and apparently if he's still driving it around, they weren't able to stop him. So I would really like to know what that was all about. There's that wing stop right there. But anyways, it's nice to see that the Booty Patrol is still patrolling the streets of Bradenton, keeping the rest of us safe from hood rattery by picking them up. As long as he gets all the hood rats, the rest of us are safe. So it's a win-win situation for the community. Why would he want to get rid of this? But as you can see, here's another person. I don't know if this is called jaywalking, or I don't know what the crap you call this, but clearly she can see that I need to get behind this car so that I'm not blocking the entrance to the parking lot, but she doesn't seem to care. And this is kind of what you deal with in Bradenton. You just have a lot of very ignorant pedestrians, and many of them end up getting hit by cars, fortunately. Yeah, I mean, they're not really doing much for society, so I mean, I don't have time to run them over, but somebody else could. All right, so I finally get a hit for somebody leaving Bradenton. I waited for a very long time, and there was very few people at all. Like, there just weren't people at all. Like, I literally wasted like an hour waiting for a ride in Bradenton, and I just couldn't get it. So I decided to leave, and when I decided to leave, I got this hit for this person that wanted to go into Sarasota out of Bradenton. So I was like, great, get me the crap out of Bradenton. I wasted kind of like the whole day. You can see it's already almost nighttime, and I hadn't got anything. Like, literally the whole day was just wasted sitting around 301 waiting for somebody that needed a ride, and it wasn't worth it. So, like, I also almost got scammed at a gas station. I uploaded a short about that. And there's something I want you guys to understand about that little scam situation. Now, in the comments section, when I explain how that scam works, which is something like the following: you pull up to a pump and somebody prepays, possibly with a fake credit card, fuel on your pump. So you are putting your card in. The second you put your card in, they pre-approve at that exact moment to fill up at your pump, which means that many times the person at the register could be part of the scam. So what they do is you think you paid with your credit card, but really the person actually pre-approved that gas right at the second where you put your card out. So you're thinking, okay, my card got approved, but it really isn't your card. It's somebody else's card, most likely a stolen credit card. Now, a lot of people said that they would never fall for this scam because they would drive off with free gas, because then the person approaches you with the receipt and says, hey, I accidentally paid for fuel on your pump. Can you please refund me the money in cash? So you go inside and you pull out money out of the ATM if you don't have it, and you give them the money cash, which in turn just turned into you giving cash to a person who just used a fake credit card in exchange for your fuel. Now, that is a scam that happens in Florida, and it's a very common scam. Now, in the comments section, people are saying stuff like, well, if they did that to me, I would just drive off of free gas. Here's the problem with doing that. Believe it or not, a lot of people, there might have been like 20 or 30 people in the comment section that said, well, I would never fall for this scam because I would flip it on them. I would drive off of free gas. There's two problems. One, if it was legitimately somebody who accidentally paid for fuel on your pump, you are now going to get arrested for theft of fuel, which in Florida is called fuel convenience, I believe, and it's not just like a regular theft, it's like an enhanced theft. But even worse, if you did put that fuel in your car, you are now becoming part of a crime. But not just any crime, you're becoming part of a credit card theft ring. Those types of crimes can land you 5, 10, 15 years in prison for credit card fraud. So if you think you're just going to drive off with fuel that somebody paid for with a fake credit card, you are sadly mistaken. In reality, when they discover that that credit card's been stolen and they look at the video footage and see that it was you in your vehicle pumping that gas, they're going to assume that you were the one who stole that fake credit card, which could have been related to a home invasion robbery. It could have been related to a theft ring. Regardless, the people who said that they would outsmart the scammers by driving off with free gas, if it was that worthwhile to do it, why are they using you as a pawn? The reason they're using you as a pawn, because the person at that pump with that car is going to take the blunt of the FBI investigation of who is using these stolen fake credit cards, and you're going to have a very hard time explaining to them why you are on video filling up your car with a fake credit card. When you're on video and the person is inside the store paying for it, who do you think they're going to assume stole that fake credit card? Do you think that the person using that fake credit card doesn't understand the risk related with being that person at the pump filling up that car, and that's why they're using you as a mule? So the people that think, oh, I'm going to flip the scam on them, no, the best thing to do when this happens is exactly what I did, which is just to wait at the pump, cancel the transaction, and probably even find another gas station so they don't keep trying to do this to you, which is exactly what I did, which means I also wasted 20 minutes of my day waiting at this pump and then finding another gas station. So I did actually, because of the scam, I wasted about 20 minutes of my day in Bradenton dealing with this whole credit card scam situation. But to the people who think that if somebody tries that scam on you, you're going to flip the scam on them by leaving with the free gas, one, again, you could get arrested for fuel theft, for fuel convenience if you do that. And two, even worse, is that somebody reports that credit card stolen and there's a video of you pumping gas with a stolen credit card balance and you driving off without paying, makes you complicit, if not completely accountable for a stolen credit card. And when they first get the stolen credit card, many times what they do is they'll run and they'll make like a test run. They got take 10 or 15 fake credit cards. They'll go out there and they'll make fake runs with like sample victims. So this is a perfect example of somebody who got a fake credit card probably, and they want to test it for the first time to make sure that it's good, but they don't want to be the ones committing the crime, so they use a mule like you. I would just go ahead and give you a clue that maybe there's a reason they're using a mule to test that card, because the risk associated with it is so high that instead of the criminal doing it themselves, they find a clever way to make sure somebody else does it. Now, the gas station lends itself perfectly for this type of situation, but I'm sure somebody could get clever and try this at a restaurant or somewhere else. But the gas station is really the perfect place to do this. So if you're at a pump in Florida and you realize that that card, the credit card or the pump just turns on by itself and your card hadn't been authorized yet, you might want to step back from that pump and find somewhere else. I just found it amusing how many people in the comments section said that if this happened to them, that they would absolutely, they think they'd have the upper hand and they'd leave with free fuel. You still got used as a mule because the person just wanted to test the card and see if it worked. So if you pump fuel for $20 or whatever you're going to pump, and at that point, and they're not going to authorize it for a whole lot, by the way. It might be authorized for $10, $15, $20. It's usually going to be a solid number like 20 or 40 so that they can have you pull it out of the ATM. Or 38 so that, it's 40, but you're only getting 38. They're still getting part of the cut. Regardless, it's amusing how many people think that if they found themselves in that situation, they would try to outsmart the scammer. But in reality, even if you, quote-unquote, outsmart the scammer, you were still on camera using a fake credit card. You were now complicit in a freaking felony, which is absolutely not worth it for $38, especially when it's guaranteed to be on camera. That's why they're using you as a mule. So it's interesting how many people are out there are willing or think that they're actually willing to take part of a scam and think that they're going to have the upper hand, not knowing that the risk associated is so high that there's no way it's worth it. Even if the person who knows the crime understands what they're doing, not even they want to be associated with the crime. That's why they're using you with a mule. But hey, there's always an idiot out there who thinks they can outsmart the system. And many times for people, when something seems too good to believe, it usually is. And even the people that drive off are still getting scammed because they're being used as a mule to test drive a stolen credit card, which is absolutely risky and not worth it. I mean, how much of a crash test dummy do you have to be to think that it's worthwhile being part of test driving a stolen credit card? Absolutely not worth it. It's a complete crash test dummy mission. And interestingly enough, the person running this scam actually banks on the idea that the person that's being scammed, if they find out about the scam, may actually want to be complicit in a freaking fraud, even though all the risk is on them just to fill up a car with gas. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely unbelievable, but that's how stupid some people are. But that is why sometimes these scammers are successful, because there are people that are that stupid and gullible that think they can actually get involved with a freaking felony, and they hadn't really thought about it. They just randomly ran into the opportunity to pretty much end up in prison for 5 to 15 years and decided, oh yeah, there's a potential I could get $30 out of this. Let me try this crime with a complete stranger. Absolutely ridiculous. But the person in the passenger seat that was going on this ride, very long ride, obviously lots of traffic and congestion, from Bradenton to Sarasota, actually gave me a $20 tip, making this entire trip worthwhile. It's the most generous tip I've ever received, and it was somebody getting picked up in Bradenton, an area which I have had so much bad luck on. I mean, it's like today I dealt with the whole credit card situation. I dealt with just waiting for an hour for a ride there just weren't any rides in the area. I dealt with all these problems Ubering in Bradenton, and here's somebody gives me a $20 tip. So you got to take the good with the bad. But a lot of times in Bradenton, despite the fact that you will occasionally find incredible customers like this person who definitely deserve a ride because they're generous, you do have to deal with a lot of crap in the meantime. And that's kind of why I've shied away from Bradenton, because you literally can spend the entire day with situations like this. Regardless, this person made up for the difference, and I really appreciate it. It's been the most generous tip I've got so far. Let's see if somebody is willing to top that $20 tip. If I get a bigger tip, I'll let you guys know.